Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's Blender tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to make snow globes in Blender. Now, I do realize that these ones do not have any snow in them, but generally people refer to these as snow globes, whether they have snow in them or not, whether they dry, whether they contain liquids. It's just kind of like one of those things that has happened, okay? So put snow in yours if you want, but the idea here is mainly showing you how to make this actual snow globe, and then really what you put in it is going to be completely up to you. And I think that's the whole magic of making a snow globe. It's really up to you to tell your story. Treat it as a bit of a diorama where you can put whatever you want, tell a little bit of a story, but this is mainly focusing on actually making the globes themselves. And once we are done with that, share your results. And I am going to be uploading this one here, which is my original, to Patreon. So, those of you in Patreon will be getting access to this file. But if you're not on Patreon, don't worry about it. We'll still be going step by step, creating this result here in Blender. So let's jump in, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's keep this super simple. We're just going to select all of the default objects. We're going to press Delete on our keyboard. Then we're going to go Shift A. We're going to go to our Mesh Options. Just add in, after going Shift A, just go to Mesh Options and add in a cylinder. We have the cylinder here. We're just going to tab into edit mode. Inside of edit mode, what we're going to do is with everything active, we're just going to go S, Z. We're going to flatten this kind of like a hockey puck, something around about here. And then you can go into your front orthographic view by pressing 1 on your number pad. And maybe with this all active, I might just scale it just a little bit more up like so. But what we're going to do, once we have it around this thickness, we're going to go Control R. And you're going to hover over here with the little pointer, and you can see a yellow line appear. And what you're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and double click to add it in. And then what I like to do is go Control B just to create a bevel. And then create a bevel about this big, and I'm going to left click. And then I'm going to go E to extrude, right click, and I'm going to go S to scale it. I'm going to scale it in to about here, and then I'm going to click. Then I'm going to go to my edge select option, deselect everything. Then go Shift Alt, holding those two buttons in. I'm going to click on this edge and this edge. Whoops, this one right here. So this one and this one, so they're both active. And then I'm going to go Control B to create a bevel. And then you can roll your middle mouse button to add in more segments. And then just click. And then at this point, what you can do, Shift Alt, left click on this bottom edge, Control B to create a bevel. And then just click once. But what you can do is go to your bevel options. And what you can do here, I think there is a way of messing around with the shape. So if we bring this into 0 or close to 0, you can see it kind of goes in like that. So we have kind of like a little bit of a border. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this edge and go Control B to create a bevel. And rolling down the middle mouse button to decrease the count. And I'm going to make it really small. I'm just going to click, and this time I'll give that a bit more value under the shape, just so it kind of bulges out. And then I might just grab this one and this edge, Shift Alt, create, Control B to create a bevel, go about this much. I'm going to roll the middle mouse button just to add in some more segments. I'm going to double click, and once again I can just mess around with this shape over here. So something like that looks really cool. And now I'm going to go to my face select option. I'm going to select this top face. I'm going to go I to inset, click, and then G, Z, and move it down a little bit. E to extrude, S to scale, click, and then G, Z, move it down. S to scale, and then E to extrude, and Z, bring it down. S to scale, something like that. And in the bottom face, I'm going to go I to inset it a tiny bit. I to inset it again, and then just G, Z, and moving it up. Like that. And now in the front view, I'm going to press A to select everything. I'm going to go G, Z, and move it up till it sits on the floor, like so. I'm going to tab back out. I'm going to right click and go Shade Smooth. Then go to the modifiers here. Add a modifier, search and type in sub, and give it a subdivision surface. And there you have it. Okay. So now we have this kind of cool looking base. So now Shift A, go to your mesh options, add in, who would have guessed, a UV sphere. Then go G and Z and just move that guy up till it's sitting right in there like that. Right click and go Shade Smooth. Go ahead, add modifier, search and type in sub. Give this a subdivision surface. add modifier search, and let's go solid and give it a solidify. And then just make sure it has just a tiny little bit of thickness. Okay, just a tiny little bit of thickness. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our render engine. We're going to change it from EV to cycles. If you have a GPU, I recommend you use it under the device. So it's always worth looking at your computer to see if you have one, and then you can enable it. I'm not going to cover that today. You could always look that up yourself, but always recommended that you use it if you have it. And then under the render engine here, we're going to take the max samples and let's just change that to 45. You could go higher if you want. I'm doing a tutorial, so I'll keep it lower. And with the denoising enabled, that should be fine anyway. Okay, so what we're going to do now in our front view, we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in a camera. In our right orthographic view, we're going to go G and move that guy back. Press 0 to go into camera view, and then just position your camera however you like. Shift A, and this is optional, but just add in a quick cube and kind of move it down, just kind of sitting underneath here, to be honest, and then just scaling it sideways. And this is kind of just more than anything, just a way of posing this. A to select everything, Control B, and just give it like a bevel. In fact, I'm going to tab out first into object mode, and I'll just go Control A and apply to scale. That way, if I go in edit mode and I go Control B, to create a bevel, it's more even, because the scaling can affect it if you don't apply it. But anyway, that's not the point. So honestly, all we've done here is just put a cube that we stretch out underneath this. You don't have to do that at all. That's just what I'm doing to pose this. You could put yours wherever you want. So I don't want to spend too much more time on that. So in the camera view, I'm just going to also, and once again, the way you position your camera is completely up to you. So I'm not going to go ahead and tell you how you should do it. But for me, I think just kind of looking a little bit more from the top, it's just kind of like a nice posing. And I like to personally go with focal length of around 75 for this sort of shot. But like I said, completely up to you. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. I'll leave a space here on the side if I want to put another snow globe there later. But more or less, I think we are on track here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure to save as we're working. Then we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go to our light options, add in an area light. We're going to go G, Z, and move that light up. And let's go to our light properties. We're going to give it a strength of 145. Let's go with a size of 3 meters. And let's go Z and then go rendered. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move this light up. And then I'm going to change my transform pivot here to the 3D cursor. Shift D to duplicate the light, right click, and then double tap R to rotate it. And now I can rotate around the 3D cursor. So I'm going to click and drag one here. Shift D to duplicate, rotate it, place it here. And then what I'm going to do is for now, I'm just going to go to the internet. And once you're in the internet, you're just going to go ahead and search for Texture Haven, or you can just type in Polyhaven. It'll kind of bring up the same result. Polyhaven, actually, just type in Polyhaven. But you're going to go ahead and click on Polyhaven, and you can just go to the assets, go to HDRI. Once you're at HDRI, you get all of these high dynamic range images that are 360 sort of panoramics that you can import into Blender, and you can go ahead and get whatever one you want, okay, for your lighting. So for me, I already have one that I'm going to use, but you can download whichever one of these you want. So you just click on it, you come here and get the resolution. It's going to be an EXR, which is what you want, and then you just go download, and you download this. And then once you have it downloaded somewhere in your computer, all you have to do is go into Blender. I already have one downloaded in a file, so I'm just going to go ahead and get it. But you'd go to your world properties, you click here on this color tab, and you'd go to environment texture, and then you just click on open, and then you just go wherever you've downloaded that file to. Okay, so the file here, whichever one you picked. Oops, where have I put it? Here. Whichever one you picked and then downloaded. Okay, so cool. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly grab mine. So on my computer, I have it under my HDRIs, and I just kind of have like this abandoned building one that I like. And the cool thing about a HDRI is you go into your shading workspace, and you go into your camera view, and you press Z and go rendered. You can actually go over here to your object and change it to world. And then if you go to edit and you go preferences, you can go over to your add-ons and search here, and you can type in node, and you can enable the node wrangler, in which case you can select this texture here, and then you can go Control T or Command T, and it'll add in a texture coordinate and a mapping node. And then with this mapping node, you can simply come to the Z rotation and then rotate it, and this way you can rotate your HDRI image in any way you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to select my camera. Okay, so select your camera in this case. Go over to your camera properties, and then go ahead and get the depth of field enabled. And then click on your focus object here, and then just select your globe over here, the sphere, and then go into your camera view, and then simply just go to your f-stop value here and make it 0.4. And now you got a nice soft focus, and that's going to make things look really cool. Okay, so while we're in our shading workspace here, let's just go back to our object type. Let's click on the actual globe here and then go new. We're creating a new material, and we'll just call it glass. And then with our new principled node here, we're just going to go to our transmission, give it a value of 1 by dragging it up, and then drag down that roughness pretty much almost all the way down to 0. Maybe just a tiny little bit of roughness, because in real life, nothing has really, in the real physical world, has 0 degree of roughness. There's always a little tiny bit of roughness, even in the most reflective objects, but it's not something we're going to get into at the moment. All you need to know now is that we've added some glass. We'll work on it in a little bit, but for now, let's head back over to the internet. And once again, you're going to go to that same website, polyhaven.com. Just type in polyhaven.com. You're going to go to the assets, go to the texture section, and then under the textures here, you just go down to the wood, and you're going to see there's all these different wood materials here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to download this one here called dark wood. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to just make it 2K. It's already got the Blender file here selected by default. I'm just going to click on download, and it's now downloading it to my downloads folder. And here you can see it's now downloaded to my downloads. So I'm going to go back into Blender, and I'm going to go file. I'm going to go to append. I'm going to go to my downloads, and I can't see it in there because I probably have to go back to my downloads and just extract that zip file. Okay, so I've extracted it, and now there's a file with a blend file in it. So now I can go back to Blender. I can go back to my downloads, and now I can see here it is. I'm going to click on that folder. Inside is the blend file, which I'm going to click on, and then I'm just going to go to the materials, and then click on a dark wood material and go append. In which case I'm going to come into my scene and select this bottom base. I'm going to come to the drop down and select that dark wood. And here you can see it's applied, but it's stretching. So what we're going to do, without having to UV unwrap it, we're going to change all of these projections to box, and each one of these texture nodes. So I'm going to change each one of them to box. So there should be 4 of them. So box projection. And then let's go over to the mapping coordinates, and let's change it from UV to generated, or maybe let's just even try the object. And now you can see we have this working really nice. You can also come here to the scale, and you can adjust the scales to whatever you want. So I might go for something like that, but now we have some wood added to this, and that's looking really good. Okay, so let's keep working on things. I'm just going to select the floor that it's sitting on here. I'm just going to give it a new material. And I'm just going to go in here in my node setup, find that principle that's generated, and just kind of drag that value down to make it a bit darker. Okay, but the snow globe here is lacking some elements like a floor. So what we're going to do, we'll go back into solid. I'll quickly go back into the layout for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the snow globe itself. I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'll change this back to median point. And let's just go enable our X-ray. And I'm going to select some of these bottom faces, and I'm going to enable proportional editing, and I'm going to go S, Z, and I'm going to flatten it. I'm going to roll my fall off just to kind of flatten this a bit. And then I'll just move this up just so it's a little bit more flat like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grow my selection by going Control Plus. I'm going to go Shift D to duplicate, right click to let go. And then I'll turn off proportional editing. I'll go Alt S and kind of scale it in a little bit, like so. And then I'm going to go to my face select option or edge select, and I'll go Shift Alt and left click just to select the top part of this inward section, the edges running for this new duplication we created. And I'm just going to go E to extrude and S to scale and click, and E to extrude, S to scale, click, and then press F to fill it, and then go G, Z, and just move that down a bit. And then I'll go Control L with that still selected, and now it selects this whole thing in here. I'm going to go P and go separate by selection. Tab back out, and now this thing in here is its own object. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my modifiers and just get rid of the solidify. Now let's go and get rid of the X-ray. Oops. And now let's go get rid of the X-ray up here. We don't need to see that anymore. I'm going to go into my camera view. I'm going to go Z and go rendered. And the downside of that new duplication, so the actual inside part there that I have created, it still has the glass. So I'm just going to go ahead to my materials. I'm going to get rid of that glass. And what I'm going to do now, in this case it's looking white, so if you wanted snow you can kind of stick to that. But I'm just going to go to the internet, and I'm just going to go to my search and just type in sand. I'm just going to go to images, and maybe I'll go sand seamless texture. Whoops. Seamless texture. And I'll just select one that I think kind of looks good. And I might just kind of grab it and drag it to my desktop. In which case I'll go into Blender again, and with this duplication selected, I'm going to go to my materials and go new. I'm going to go to the base color, go to image texture. I'm going to go to open and then just get that seamless sand on my desktop where I've dragged it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tab into edit mode, press A to select everything. I'm going to go Alt N and just go recalculate the outside normals. And now back in object mode, let's go Z and let's go rendered. And you can see it's really stretched because it's using the UV coordinates. But what we can do is we can go into a shading workspace. And what we can do is just select that glass and hide it. Make sure to select this inside bit and just go in here. And then change this from flat to box projection. And then select this node again, and using the node wrangler, go Control T, add in the mapping, and let's make it generated. And now that's looking a lot better. If you want to, go Shift A, search, and get a bump. Place it over here, and then take that color, put it into the height, plug the normal into the normal principled, and then go Shift A, search, and get a color ramp. Place it in between here to make it black and white. And now you've got some bump added here as well. So I'm going to go Alt H to bring back the glass. I'll bring back down the strength of the bump. And I think that's looking really good for now. But another thing we can do real quick is just select the glass itself. We can go in here and go Shift A, search, and get a noise texture. Let's plug the factor into the roughness. Shift A, search, and get a color ramp. Place it on here. And then go into your camera view and go Z and go rendered. And then just drag these two sliders closer together. Maybe dragging the black up just a bit more. And then let's give it a detail of 12. And there we go, something like that. And then let's grab the white value here and make it a little bit darker. Just so we have some roughness on the glass. And if you want, you can grab those two and go Shift A, search, and just get a bump. And you can take that color, plug it into the height, and then plug the normal into the normal of the principled. And then bring that strength down to 0.05. Like that. Mess around with the scale a little bit if you want on the noise texture. But more or less, we're just looking for something like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure to save. And then let's go render, and then render the image. And there we have it. We now have a snow globe. So what we do at this point you can put anything you want in there, okay? But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my front view, I'm gonna go Shift A, I'm gonna add in a mesh object, I'm gonna go for a monkey head. I'm gonna give it a subdivision surface modifier. I'm gonna go right click and go shade smooth, and I'm gonna just go G, Z, move it up. S to scale, and I'll kind of rotate it inside of there. Just kind of placing it down into the sand. There we go, and I'm going to go Z, I'm going to go rendered. I can see there's the monkey head. I might just actually select it and give it a material. Make the base color a little bit darker in value. So it's not as reflective. You could even give it a color if you wanted to, but you get the idea here. Also select the glass and just go to your base color for that and make it a lighter value so you can see through it a little bit better. But you can see what we've done here. I'm also just going to select the actual base, and this is optional, but if you want to, you can tab in here and just select a row of these guys over here. Shift D to duplicate, Alt S and scale it out a bit, and then go P and separate that selection. And then you can grab this band here and you can get rid of that material. Go new, and let's just make it metallic. Give it sort of like a golden brass color, and then bring down the roughness a bit. And now you have kind of like this kind of like brass thing wrapping around here. I've seen that on some snow globes as an extra decorative feature. If you want to chuck a solidify onto there. At this point, I'm just showing you a bunch of extra things real quick, but you kind of get the idea at this point. It's just the idea of making a snow globe. What I want to see now is what you guys make with this. So go ahead, adjust your lighting, try out different things, reposition your lights until you kind of like the results a little bit better. That's always something that I recommend people give a shot. Lighting is really going to be important with how the final result looks anyway. So just kind of don't be afraid to experiment with lighting position. I might just bring down the intensity of some of these lights. I've changed the color of the monkey a little bit, but anyway, I think we get the idea. I'm going to just select the snow globe now and the monkey inside as well. Everything, I'm going to go Shift D to duplicate, move it over, and this is just me doing an extra thing here, but I'm going to just kind of scale it down, just make a bit of a smaller one next to it. And what I'm going to do is just grab that monkey in there, and I'll give it its own material, kind of rotating it. But yeah, what I'm going to do now is going to make sure to save. And then let's go render, and let's render the image. And there we have it, some snow globes in Blender. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. I will be uploading my original to Patreon. This is just a fun little intermediate, sort of beginner intermediate thing we did today. But I think you guys can now go ahead, use this, see what you can come up with, add all sorts of things inside of your snow globes. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.